Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Ignite recap special from the Windows 365 community. My name is Ola, and I'm joined here today with Morten and Dominiek to talk a little bit about the news that came out of Ignite. So if we kick it off right off the bat, Dominiek, they released some cool stuff around the GPU stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's one of those features that quite some customers actually asked for. Is it possible to run some high GPU intensive workloads from Cloud PC? The answer until now is always no. They don't have a video card or an AMD card or something like that added to them. So I was really hyped and really stoked when I heard the announcement that there actually was going to be a couple of SKUs becoming available. And currently it's in public preview. So yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, is it free SKUs? I think it's free. Or 4 maybe. I think it's free, yeah? Free SKUs.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I actually don't.
But the specs are actually quite high. So there's also for low end, graphical users, and then really high end. So I think it's really awesome as well. I have some customers been asking for this for a very long time, and they come from Azure Virtual Desktop or a third-party solution that supports graphical users, and this was actually a big hurdle for them to take the final step into doing full Windows 365 as a virtual cloud solution, right, to end users. So this is pretty good. I'm looking forward to get into the preview because I think you can sign up. I have signed up, but I haven't heard back yet. I don't know about you guys.
I haven't actually signed up. I kind of realize that I can't really provide any good feedback for that because I don't have any use case. I'm more than happy to work with my customers around it, but for me, it would not really be other than a cool technology. But just like for you, Morten, I have customers who are really interested in this because that's the last step of going virtually or actually even moving away from AVD or a third-party solution to cover this need going forward, to simplify their journeys as they're already on Windows 365 for everything else.
Yeah, for me, it's basically the same. I don't have any customers currently who are working with types of products and the applications that are supported by the SKUs. So yeah, I didn't sign up. Also, I think this is a paid public preview. It's not a free public preview that you can basically sign up for. It will actually cost some money. I don't know what the costs are, but yeah, there's something there.
I mean, they probably saw me on the list for signing up, and they were like, "No, he's not going in." But I'm not sure. But yeah, we will see. I'm quite interested in seeing what kind of workload it's able to handle, and also the pricing. The pricing will be very interested because pricing on Azure Virtual Desktop or just Azure VMs with GPU in general are very expensive. Now, I have looked at some of the competitors on AWS, Amazon, for those who don't know AWS, but that's Amazon Cloud, where you also get a virtual machine with a graphic card on. And the prices are quite low compared to Azure's on the lower end, but as you go higher, they increase their price fairly, with a high amount compared to Azure. But yeah, it will be very interesting to see. But I think the price will follow Azure Virtual Desktop as you have your enterprise Cloud PC today. So if you don't know, if you go into Azure, take a virtual machine with the same specs, you have to know about VM SKUs family and stuff like that. But if you take it on the Azure calculator, take the virtual machine, reserve the instance for 3 years, remove the license costs, and take a disk, you almost have the same price as you do on a Windows 365 license. So if my theory are correct, we might be able to find out the price today. But let's just wait till Microsoft comes with official pricing. Yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah, it's
gonna
good.
run the calculator in a minute.
No, but it's gonna be really interesting because I think that's probably gonna be like a showstopper for a lot of companies based on what the pricing is. If is it worth it compared to getting a physical or building it somewhere else?
I have a side note for that. That is, of course, the listing price. I'm talking about. You can do a calculation on that, and it will be the same as the listing price. Now, all of my customers are getting some discount, because people don't want to pay the full price for a Windows 365 license, to be honest. And I'm sure some of your customers are doing as well. EA customers, CSP customers, everything is for, what's called negotiation, I think. So we will see.
Yeah, awesome. One thing that I really like about the GPU SKU is that, of course, it's a VM, and you'll get access to a graphical card in the VM itself. But I just love the way that Microsoft did it, because Windows 365 basically makes VDI simple for everyone to use. And it actually does that the same for the GPU-enabled SKUs as well. Just think about the drivers. If you're working on Azure Virtual Desktop, you always have to think about installing the graphical drivers yourself, or use an extension to install the drivers for you. Windows 365 will actually do that for you using the Windows 365 service. So I just really like the way that they simplify the process.
That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But talking about SKUs and optimizing cost, Morten, there was some news around AI for Windows 365 as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I was there at on-site at Ignite in Seattle, and you couldn't have a topic without AI. So of course, Windows 365 got some AI as well, and it's actually pretty cool. It's not much that we got here, but I think there will be coming some cool features in the future. I actually have some features in mind I could wish for, but let's just talk about what was talked about. If you can say that, I don't know. But AI will now be built into Windows 365. So what will that mean? That means that Windows 365 will be able to help right-sizing your cloud PCs based on usage and pattern, right? So, and of course, the performance. So patterns and performance. So this means that we can actually start to get a better insight of when and how long a user are performing, a high performance. Because right now we're just getting an overview saying, well, your CPU has spiked at, 90%, you need to resize your cloud PC. But now we can actually get some more insights saying, okay, this user is having a big spike when the user are running this type of application. But the user only running this type of application maybe for 5 hours a month. And this way we get a bit more insight into what the user are doing. And if we want to resize it, we can start right-sizing it. And I think we didn't see anything of it, to be honest. It was just purely talk. So I'm not sure how exactly it will work, but I could imagine that we will see something like, okay, now Dominiek is going to log on his cloud PC on this day, and we know that he's going to use this application here. Let's just resize the cloud PC for him automatically. So when he logs on, he can just use that power that he has, and on the end of his day, we will just resize it down again, because we know that based on the pattern we have, he's not going to use that application anymore. So I think that's something we will, it will be huge if we're going that way.
Absolutely. That's next level scaling for Windows or license handling. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I mean, there's still a lot of information to come, right? So we didn't exactly see what the end product will be. Yeah, but I think they will just start.
There were some screenshots just showing like the usage data. Okay, suggested this move to this one, but that was not for like the the automatic stuff. It was mostly for the bigger picture, looking through your environment. I think looking at the customer discussions I've had, people are always worried about licensing or having the correct size. So if they can get a help selecting that for each user, and especially finding those who would benefit from moving up a SKU, that will decrease a headache for a lot of IT admins out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is basically just one of the things that is announced at this point with Windows 365 and AI. So I'm really wondering what's next, what's coming in the future.
Exactly. Imagine this, Dominic. I actually have this one, especially thinking about you after your session on our user group. I think it was in, when was it?
Yeah, just
November?
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I think
November.
Sorry.
I think.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, exactly. Imagine this. Imagine that you have frontline licenses, right? So imagine that you have 3 users on, 3 different time zones on the planet, and based on AI, it will know what time zone the user most likely will log in on, right? So if a user forget to log out of their Cloud PC, or the IT admin forget to configure the session timeout and all that stuff, FYI, a user have to log out of their Cloud PC before the next user can log in, just if you didn't know. Imagine if the AI now are able to say, oh, Dominic forgot to log out, so Morten is not able to log in when he starts his shift. Let me do that for him. Of course, there are some things about what about unsaved items and all this kind of stuff, but just thinking in that pattern, I'm thinking that AI can do a lot of stuff for us here.
It would make absolutely a lot of sense. And even the presentation is just one of the things that I noticed in the other presentation about Windows 365 and Frontline. Microsoft is going in that direction. So yeah, how cool would it be if you don't have to wait as an end user for your Frontline Cloud PC, which is always turned off unless you sign in, then it's powered on for you, and you don't have to wait until it's powered up, until the services are running, until you actually get access to your desktop. So yeah, love it, great idea.
Exactly. And maybe even further up, I actually have another one for you, Microsoft. So just take the notes here. We have the move Cloud PC function, right? So imagine in the future that moving the Cloud PC actually moves the Cloud PC and not just, redo it.
Yeah.
But imagine this, that if a user travels to another location in the world, that the Cloud PC will be transferred by itself. That could be pretty cool.
That would be awesome, because that would take away a lot of.
Yeah, sorry. Especially I think if a company has multiple offices and users are working for a couple of weeks in office 1, and perhaps in a couple of months they move to office B, work there for a couple of months, and they travel between both offices. That's something that will really be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because at first I actually thought, okay, AI and Windows 365, what can it really do for us? Is it for the IT admins, or what is it for? But I actually think there are a lot of opportunities with Windows 365 and AI, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It perfectly makes sense if you take a moment and think about it. So yeah.
Yeah, why not outsource the planning and moving things around to someone who actually has the data and can do this automatically for you? It's an awesome train of thought. I think it makes, and there's so many new possibilities when we talk about this way of doing desktops compared to traditional ways of doing it, especially for those who are new into virtualization and don't really have the legacy of, okay, we've always done it like this, but they want to explore and make use of new functionality. And in at least my experience is that those are usually the ones who jump first for Windows 365, where we don't have a big virtualization team, so we'll buy some licenses, set up in Intune with Windows 365 and to get going, and then you can scale up to AVD if you need that down the road. But just that initial thing and giving them even more cool features who make their life easier. That's spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
But
and now you also have we cannot forget the AI with Intune that we have. I think it's called Copilot for Security or something like that can
yeah,
interact with the
security
Intune, right?
copilot. Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? Eventually, that you'll be able to configure your whole Intune environment and Windows 365 just with AI,
Yeah.
and eventually we will all just turn into project managers, right? Just, I mean, you can never
Yeah.
have too many project managers.
No.
No.
There's always room for one more.
Yeah.
Now, I think
Yeah.
that's also interesting to see where that heads. Even though that's not Windows 365 specific, it's at that level. When I was thinking about AI for Intune, that was kind of what I was thinking. Not that much Windows 365, to be honest, initially. But now that I see it, it makes so much sense, especially that the stated use case for it right now, where it's mostly for optimizing cost, because that's always important.
Yeah.
But we touched a little bit on AVD earlier, together with Windows 365, and there was a new announcement around an app, Dominic.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I just love the work that Microsoft did right there. It's called the Windows app, and it's basically an evolution in the current ways that you can connect to the cloud PC, but also for Azure Virtual Desktop or dev boxes if your organization is using them. And even in some scenarios, you can connect to existing remote desktop services, infrastructures, remote PC. So yeah, I just love the way that they unified all those connections into one application, and it makes a lot of sense. You can really use one application and use all the features that are specific to one solution. Even just for Windows 365, it has all the self-servicing options to reset your own cloud PC, use the point-in-time restore feature, even switch. It was only recently, at least it feels like that. It went into a GA, and it all just works. And even for Azure Virtual Desktop, if you're using that, of course, the extra features will be more limited because AVD doesn't support those functions. But yeah, it works great. And it's not just basically the app that you can install on a Windows machine. It's also the web client, which is also using the new URL to connect to it.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty stoked when the Windows app came because of two main things. I really like the Windows 365 app. Been using it since preview. Really love it. But I have two main things about this Windows app that I really do appreciate. One, I don't know if you guys have ever worked with AVD or just trying to connect to an AVD environment. The remote desktop client. I mean, it looks like something that is back from Windows Vista, to be honest. And it was just, it didn't fit the modern application overlay, if I can say it that way, that you have with the Office and just Windows 11 in general. So it's really nice that we now have a up-to-date app with the modern time, first of all, and also that you can combine it with your Windows 365, because you could have your Windows 365 cloud PCs and your AVD environment in the remote desktop client, but you were not able to do your end user actions on your cloud PCs. So you were lacking on some features there, and you couldn't have your AVD in the Windows 365 app. So coming together all there with all the features, really cool. And the most important thing is the app will be available across all devices.
Yeah.
And the updates will be, I think, pretty similar across all devices as well, right? They want to streamline it even more to simplify things. Also, the support for the redirection, the multimedia, Teams optimization, stuff like that. They really want to push it out to all devices at once. I think the only device that does not support currently is the Android, but it should
Yeah.
come soon.
Yeah.
But then you have a pretty good baseline with the new Windows app.
And
Yeah,
just running an app on your iPhone called Windows. That's a weird experience.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
running Windows on your PC and clicking on the Windows app is maybe there could be something with the naming, but
Yeah.
I'm not in marketing, so
yeah, absolutely. I also wonder a bit, because the Android client isn't released yet, but I wonder how it stacks up against the deep integration that Motorola has on the
Yeah.
Think phones.
mm, yeah, that's
So
a good
I
point.
definitely want to have a look at that one later on.
Yeah, I actually haven't thought about that, but that's a good point. Um, I think the key feature of the Motorola integrated, what's called enhanced
I don't
Windows
know.
experience.
Yes, enhanced something
Yeah,
like that. I don't
yeah.
remember, to be honest.
So to the folks who don't know what we're talking about, you can just take your Motorola phone. You have to have a specific one, the Think phone, um, and you can just plug it into your monitor, and it will automatically boot up your Cloud PC. So I actually think that's the special thing about it. I think it has the same components as if you just download the app without having too much knowledge about it. So I think it's the boot thing that you will get
Yeah.
from the Motorola phone. Um,
No, that's my impression as well. That their integration is what stands out. They doing instead of doing sampling decks like Samsung is doing, they have Windows 365 desktop that you can launch into.
yeah,
Very similar, to be honest, to the old Windows Phone Continuum, which was a killer feature that never worked.
true, true.
Yeah,
Are you guys using the Windows app?
yeah,
Yeah, on my desktop I am. I actually have it on my iPhone as well. It's not good to work on your Windows 365 on this screen size, but
No.
but it works. It works really well, and I'm surprised that it actually was possible to use it fairly good on such a small screen.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been using it on my Windows device, on my Mac device, and on my iPhone. iPhone would just to say that I have done it here today. So I'm not using it really. I just connected once. And an important note: if you're on a Apple device and want to test this app here, you have to go in and sign up, and you have to hurry up because there are only 8,000 um, available. What's called spaces or seats.
slots. Yeah,
Yeah, 8,000 seats. So it's first come first serve. That's part of the Apple testing policy for apps. Um, but if you're connecting from a macOS and you're going to the flow for the first time, it will prompt you to access your keychain. Now you are able to say allow always or just allow. If you're just choosing allow, and when it will go through, and you will get your two-factor authentication if you have configured your environment properly, and if you haven't, go back and watch some of our other videos. Never mind. It will keep prompting you, and you cannot do anything. So you have to go back and say always allow to get past that MFA authentication. So that is, of course, some feedback I gave to the product group, but that's one of the only thing I have, seen as an issue with the app. Else, I think it's very, very good. Actually, I do like it.
yeah, and I really wonder about the quality. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but what happens is the quality is just really good. You can use large screens, 34-inch wide flat panels, or even perhaps 4K resolutions on TVs. You can actually start to imagine, do I really need to have local endpoints, or do I give my employees at the company just a really good smartphone? have the Windows app running on it, and have them connect to their cloud PC and access their
Yeah.
corporate data applications from there. And even will it run or cast to a Chromecast? That would be a really cool solution if you have like a meeting room with a huge screen, but perhaps it's a little bit out of date. Just add a Chromecast to it and see if you can cast your screen to it. And
Yeah.
the cool thing is it doesn't leave any data, corporate data, personal data on the devices itself. So it would be a really cool solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also thinking or hoping that this will trickle down to other devices than Motorola, and that we'll see other form factors, because this for frontline worker, it's a killer thing. They have the desktop and the phone, and they can have their hand scanner, for example, do their warehouse scanning, and then they can go connected to a screen and get the computer experience to do their administrative work. I think it's a really interesting route or approach to what a device is. Like you said, Dominic, you could end up with not having devices anymore, or just having one device instead of 2 or 3 or 5 devices, which is good on so many levels.
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny if you think about it. So back in the days when I was young, there's not too many days ago, but for the people who know me in real life, they know how old I am. But thin client was really a big thing, right? Thin client running some Citrix environment. You have IT staff updating all those thin clients from a central server and stuff like that. It was fun times, even though I didn't do too much in it. But then suddenly we saw a change to go away from thin clients. We got Microsoft 365 with all the security features, the what's called the trust and zero trust, right? Approach, and we saw more and more companies going into physical devices again. Then now we have Windows 365 and Cloud PC, which is their personal device just in the cloud. So now we're actually talking with customers again, saying, well, do you really need your physical device, or do you really need to have that many physical devices? Or does your physical device need to have like 16 vCPU and stuff like that? Does it need to have graphic card? The answer is no, maybe not. But I'm actually having a lot of great conversation with customers, especially about that Motorola phone. When I'm showcasing it to them, I actually have one right here. I'm charging it up for Sweden. I'm going to Sweden next week. I will be having this with me to showcase to some customers. But when I'm showing this to customers, their minds are just going nuts in the way that's saying, okay, we don't like Motorola, first of all. That's the first thing I hear. But then I also hear them saying, but we see the potential of it. We see the vision of it, that we are pulling away the operating system from the physical device, and we can see new ways in, accessing Windows, engaging with Windows, and be productive with Windows. And that is very important. So I think Microsoft will go beyond Motorola. I hope they will, because there will be a huge market. One of the biggest concerns that I hear from customers when talking about this, like only having a phone, because I would say 9 out of 10 employees that get hired are getting a phone, and maybe they don't need a laptop, as you said. But one of the things that I'm concerned about as well, I cannot leave my laptop because if I'm going to a meeting, I cannot, sit on my phone doing meeting notes. I can, of course, buy a Copilot license. It will do it for me, but you get the point, right? So there are some scenarios where a phone is really bad compared to a laptop or a iPad Pro, a big iPad with a keyboard. But there are definitely, use cases for it, I think.
Yeah, perhaps it's more like customers can actually choose what functions that they would expect and want to use from their physical endpoint. Perhaps they want a portable laptop with a touchscreen, or perhaps they want just a really small system to work on without a touchscreen, or perhaps it's just the functionality that you can choose later on.
Yeah. What I'm hearing a lot of from my customers as well when we start talking about Windows 365 is that they have kind of legit use cases for just skipping the thing, getting a PC, give them an iPad instead, because you get so much more battery out of that thing. And running Windows 365 on that to get the Windows experience to do what you need to do for in the Windows environment, there's usually one or two business apps. Managers needs to approve something in a Windows app or things like that, but they can get along and get a long way with just running the iPad, which could also be their preferred device of choice. And looking at how many of the companies I work with, how their environment is set up, everyone assumes that you have something that's Windows based somewhere to either update your password, to do that one weird time reporting once a year, or something like that. But it's always around having that Windows experience somewhere. But it doesn't really need to be physical. It could be virtual in this case. And if that is your phone, or if it's an iPad or another tablet or a Mac, then you kind of goes a long way. And I think that, yeah, it's exciting to see where this brings us, especially since we're talking about not being locked down to only a few platforms anymore. It's getting more and more platform agnostics, which is great. Still missing Linux, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, for Linux, we have, Ideal, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking, yeah, that could probably solve it for those scenarios as well. But
yeah, you don't have a supported
an
Linux
app.
an app. Yeah,
That's I've heard that from like maybe one customer that they were missing that because they had two users running Linux and those two users were really loud. But then we cover everything if you go down, if we get to that point. But like you said, it's been ported by iEagle, so it's not impossible.
No, and I would say I have one customer that have like one user using Linux, so they are quite rare as I see it. But
yeah.
We just pointed him to the web client.
Yeah, that's what I did with my customer as well. They were happy with it. They were okay with it because it was still better than whatever experience they've had in the past. So it was okay. So talking about different platforms and which kind of brings us into security in some way or another, trying to do a nice transit over to a new topic. But Morten, walk us through. There were some pretty exciting announcements around security for Windows 365 at Ignite.
Yeah, so we got two new features, and we got 4 features that were in preview that got into GA. So we got SSO with passwordless are now in GA. We got watermarking, that QR code thing that you can have on your screen, that is now in GA. We have screen capture protection, GA, tamper protection, and then we have something called customer logbox. That is a new feature. I mean, it's been there for a while in Microsoft 365, but it's now coming to Windows 365 as well. Actually, quite awesome. I haven't never used it before, and I don't have a customer using it either. But I looked into it, and actually pretty cool. And then we also have customer managed keys. BitLocker doesn't work on cloud PCs, so they are already encrypted by some Azure storage, something encryption. So why should you encrypt it? That's why BitLocker is not supported. And then customers can now bring their own keys if they have something specific. But I really think that SingSanon has been there in preview for maybe half a year, 8 months.
No, it's got to be longer than that. It maybe feels like it's always been there.
Yeah.
Preview.
I mean, it just works, and I've been using it across all my customers since day one. it got into preview, and I never had any issues, to be honest. So it's good to see that we have nice SSO.
Perhaps it's a cool thing to mention at this point. I actually had one person come up to me and he was asking like, we're trying to implement Windows 365 at one of our customers, but they have like a security policy that they should always sign in. And it doesn't even matter if they sign into the app already, but they always need to sign in into the cloud PC itself. And I was thinking like MFA, conditional access, always all those things that are way too advanced for this. And then I was like, bingo, that's just disable SSO, reprovision the cloud PC, and you're good to go. And he was like, yeah, that's brilliant. This works. So there are actually use cases where you wouldn't want to use it, but yeah, I agree. Most cases just enable it. It's seamless. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think also for the SSO part, that you can actually now, you don't have to redeploy them now to actually to change the configuration. You could just update or apply change or what, same menu that you move the region with. Which makes the transition from not having it to having it, or the other way around for your scenario, Dominic, moving away from it. It makes that easier, and there's really no reason for anyone not to make that shift now, since we can do that fairly easy.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I remember I had a customer that opted into Windows 365 quite early, and every time there came a change, they added something to the provisioning policy tab that you can now do X, Y, Z, like the single sign-on. You had to reprovision all your cloud PCs in order to utilize that, right? So now we have the apply update, and just applies and works. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. But Dominic, you had kind of a funny story around the watermarking, because you and another guy were playing around with it.
Yeah. See, that was awesome. We were fiddling around with watermarking. We were both working on a blog post, and basically it was really easy to configure watermarking, and everything worked. Getting the QR codes on the screen, making them bigger, smaller, move them around the grid, moving them to the background so they're not so much intrusive. But yeah, at the end, there's this little thing that you need to resolve the data that's stored in the QR code to a user. It's meant like someone took a picture from the screen. Who was it? Who leaked the information? And we were like, this isn't working. We can't get this to work. And I think it was like 3 months later when Sina actually noticed there was like a known issue. Because if you're using Windows 365 and you're implementing watermarking, basically the same happens when you implement it for AVD. The QR code will actually embed the connection ID. And the connection ID is pretty easy to resolve on an AVD session host, but it doesn't work on a cloud PC. So there's nothing there to trace, And yeah, Microsoft actually updated the settings in the settings catalog, deprecated the old one. And now we as admins have the ability to change the connection ID to the device ID, and you can use just the Microsoft Intune Admin Center or Entra ID portal, and you can really easily find out who leaked the information. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, watermarking is coming, I would say, on top of the screen capture protection, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, because the screen capture protection, if you're trying to take a screenshot with snipping tool or recording the screen and stuff like that, it would just black everything out, right? And then watermarking is protecting you from taking a picture with the phone.
Yeah.
I remember in the first blog about the screen capture protection, I wrote basically everything down, and I actually made a comment from, well, haters will say it does not prevent users from taking a picture with their phone, and they're right. But that's what watermarking is for.
Yeah. I mean,
have you guys had any real world requests from customers or in discussions where they wanted to use watermarks?
Not at all, no.
I've been talking with some customers. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Dominic.
I don't think our customers are in the sector that would require that level of security.
No. I agree on that. So I talked with some customers about it, about some scenarios where it would make sense, but uh, they just, it just wasn't high enough classified things that they're going to work with. That wasn't decisions, so it didn't make sense at that point. Um,
And perhaps it doesn't help that it's really intrusive. Once you enable it, you get to use QR codes all over the screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you don't set up that right, the grid box will fill up, and it's really intrusive. Try looking at a QR code that's just there all day and it doesn't move. So
True.
Well, then it's probably better to, like you said, Morten, have that scenario where it's very, very, very sensitive information that you actually store in the cloud. Which for my customers, if it's that sensitive, they don't store it in the cloud. That is on-prem.
True. That's true. I mean, our biggest problem in Denmark is we don't have a data center. So everything going to the Netherlands or UK, I think West Europe
Okay,
is Netherlands, North Europe is UK.
you obviously don't trust Norway and Sweden.
We don't want to send data to Norway or Sweden. That's for
or the
sure.
Netherlands.
Yeah. So, and the really, really important data, big companies don't want to, give that out to a data center in the Netherlands. That's the truth.
To an American company in the Netherlands, nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my customer base are mainly in Denmark, but they have branches all over the world, some of them, but the headquarters and main company is based in Denmark. So that's why we are getting a data center in Denmark in, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. They're currently building it, so that's good. So we will see. We'll see. Maybe that will help on the cloud journey for many companies.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably, security, making sure that your data is always secure. I think that's also a thing where customer logbox comes in. For those who don't know what it is, if I read up correctly, it's just a great way to make sure that Microsoft and support employees can't access data when it's stored in the cloud. And you as an admin for an organization actually have to make sure, enable, approve the request of a Microsoft employee or support employee to access the data. So Logbox is just right up there with security features.
Yeah. And and also for the managed keys, I right off the bat when I read it, I saw that okay, this is the road my customer will go down. They're in the financial sector, and if they can bring their own key, they will bring their own key, and they will probably fly it over personally if they can and will or have to, and hopefully type it in personally as well.
Well, I think customer managed keys are good. I mean, I have customer using it for AVD.
Yeah,
that's the truth. And other cloud computing stuff, normal service in Azure and stuff like that. If they want to use that, go ahead and use it. I don't really have a big deal if you're using your own key or if you're using, Microsoft to do the encryption of the disk. That's basically it, right? So my biggest issue with the BitLocker thing on Windows 365 was that it did not work. It was not supported. So, and that leads back to compliance policies, because almost every company that I touch upon have a compliance policy saying your machines must have BitLocker, right? So that is the first failure I often see when implementing a customers, that we have to getting around their compliance policy, and if they're using compliance policies to being used with conditional access policies for security reasons, then we also have to touch upon the security team, and it's just a big mess to come around, because what really should happen, if you ask me, is that when you're getting a cloud key, it has BitLocker turned on. It's just Microsoft Manage, Azure Manage, whatever you will call it. It has something specific name I cannot recall. It's in the Mastering Windows 365 book, I think. So go ahead and buy one of those. I'm just kidding. But my point here is, why not just saying to the compliance policy, instead of saying not compliant, just say, hey, we know that this machine here isn't encrypted with the Intune BitLocker, but it is with the Azure backend. So just make it compliant. I mean, that would be my biggest request right now.
Yeah, I agree. Or just, okay, we see that this is a cloud PC, it uses some kind of other encryption. We'll just skip that. We'll not check for this on this device. It's not applicable.
Yeah, because right now you have to create a special compliance policy for your cloud PCs. If you're
I think
having
that's
another one with BitLocker.
yeah, and that's usually what causes a lot of confusion with IT admins. Is my experience that okay, and then you get the user prompt saying that okay, you can't access company resources, but you're obviously already accessing company resources because you're not using conditional access or compliant device in your conditional access rule, but it's still there, and it gets confusing if you, like you said, Morten, if you don't set it up correctly and think about this little thing initially when you set it up.
Yeah, also because it takes like, let's just say in theory, it takes like half an hour to get through, right? You create your Cloud PC filter for your Cloud PCs, you create a new compliance policy, you apply the filter, you go into the other compliance policy that contains your BitLocker requirement, and you filter your Cloud PCs off, and then you resolve the issue.
Yeah.
But in the real world and with the big enterprise companies, this is a change that can take weeks sometimes. Also, just explain to the security folks that the PC is encrypted, even though it's telling us it's not, right? So just sending documentation back and forth and give them the number to Microsoft support. They can talk to them.
Basically, the only drawback that I can actually think about of not having BitLocker enabled on a cloud PC is the ability to share cloud PC restore points. You can actually upload them to an Azure storage account, download them to a local computer. Then you have to do some command lines to make sure that you have the right format, and you can actually boot it up in Hyper-V. So yeah, that's basically the only issue that I see with that.
Yeah, that could probably bring some issues.
Yeah, but it's far-fetched, you know. You have to be an admin. You have to export it to an Azure storage account, which requires some permissions. And then you have to make sure to download it, and yeah, so it's really far-fetched.
Yeah, true. But the encryption level is on the physical drive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're doing the restore point, you're not actually taking the physical drive with you, right? With the BitLocker configuration or something like that. So I think that's why that you can boot it up without the keys, without being a 100% expert on it.
But as an awesome admin, of course, your own desktop would be have a BitLocker, so let's rely on that.
Okay, so thank you all for watching. That was our quite deep discussion and our thoughts around all the exciting Ignite announcements from 2023. I hope you all liked the video and are as excited as we are around the news. So we'll see you all around, and take care. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.